I did not care for not Jonathan Groff, the guy from Frozen and Mindhunter, but the other daddy. I didn't care for him, the human rights lawyer, and also his character. He's like, no, the world can end. I'm not sacrificing anyone, but he doesn't immediately shoot them on sight.
I hated him so much.
It's insane, right?
Art the Clown.
I'm something different.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to another Modern Horror Movie Talk. I'm your host, Tyler Nichols, and Andrew Hatfield is back for another one. Andrew, how you doing today?
I'm good. Happy to be back. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw the last episode, but my guest might be a little gun shy at this point because I sometimes like to throw some curveballs at you.
I have 3 kids. You can't hurt me, Tyler. You bring it. I'm ready to fight if I need to.
Well, first of all, thank you to the viewers and the comments for Terrifier 2. You guys were very, very kind. I was very vulnerable in letting that opinion out there, and you guys were, for the most part, very respectful. So I appreciate that. That was very cool. It kind of shows what the audience that we have and the respectful kind of audience that we have, which is great because I'm going to end up liking some stuff that is really stupid, and I'm going to end up hating some stuff that's really well liked. So I think the most important thing is to try and just be passionate about it either way, because we have someone today that is super divisive in terms of his filmmaking. So, I mean, you got to have a strong opinion either way. But before we even get into that, Andrew, what you drinking?
Oh, well, today I'm going beer again, and I'm doing a local. I mean, you said you used to live out in Colorado, so it's an embarrassment of riches out here, but I'm going Lone Tree Brewing Vanilla Caramel Amber.
Oh, nice.
It's tasty. How about yourself?
Well, I had said that I wouldn't be away from the Oberon for a while, but I actually drank through all my Oberon, and a buddy had brought a bunch of tequila seltzer that he left. And I don't like seltzer, but I do like tequila. And I usually really hate seltzer because they give me like a hangover. But this has no added sugar, and I think that's what's helping. I mean, it's not great, but I don't think any of these seltzers are. So,
not great is high marks for those. So I think that's a good assessment.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't know. It definitely needs a little more something. It's very weak, I will say. Lance would be ashamed of me. I'll just say that.
I'm sure you'll get a text of what to add to it to, spice it up a little bit for next time.
Yeah, Lance, let me know what I need to add to this to make it better because it's fucking really mid right now.
We want prohibition! We want prohibition!
You can't seriously want to ban alcohol? It tastes great.
Before we even get into today's subject, one thing I want to talk about is just M Night Shamylan in general, because he's a director, he's a filmmaker that is extremely divisive. There's people have his films on their favorites of all time, and that same person could then have his films on the worst of all time. He is the definition of a polarizing filmmaker. So what's your opinion of M Night Shyamalan?
Overall, I like him. I think he's got a Hitchcock complex because he's got to put himself in every single movie. I made a note of it when he showed up in today's movie.
To that.
But I mean, overall, I was one of those people. I was 14 in 1999 when Sixth Sense came out, and it was incredible. And it got a couple Oscar nominations. It's one of my favorite stories about my dad because I saw it and then I took him to go see it. And 10 minutes in, he just leans over and goes, "Oh, he's dead." And I was like, "What?" Okay.
Oh God, that's awful. That's almost like it's like because it's one of those things you're like almost expecting. You're almost wanting to watch the person's reaction the whole movie rather than the movie itself, and then that happens.
Yes,
brutal.
But overall, I mean, he's got tears. Like he's got those first 3, and I even showed my my son Signs a couple weeks before we decided we were doing this video, and I still like parts of it, and then other parts I was just like, sheesh, like it does not hold up quite as well as I remember it.
No, that's awful to hear because I have not watched Signs in a very long time. So yeah, that sucks.
Overall, I like and respect him, and he's always interesting for better or worse. So I will give him that, but I don't think he's as good as the people that want to give him the best credit. But how do you feel about him?
So I was super prominent on like movie message boards, in particular the Joe Blow forums, and at that time, like Unbreakable and The Sixth Sense were in so many people's favorite movies. Every single time someone would post, you'd see those movies listed. And so I always viewed those as very high caliber films. And honestly, I still do. Sixth Sense and Unbreakable to me are phenomenal, especially Unbreakable. There's parts that, especially with Split and Glass, any kind of sequel can then kind of ruin the original film for me, just because I always think of then the ending of Unbreakable does not end at Unbreakable, because then I know what comes after. That kind of feeling. And just like I'm never going to get that feeling back of seeing Sixth Sense again, but I can almost relive certain aspects of it again, because it is a film that I stay away from for a long time. So then, sure, Bruce Willis being dead, spoiler alert, guys, I hope you guys realize that aspect is not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. There's other parts that are really interesting to then see unfold, like the daughter haunting Haley Joel Osment to try and get him to unveil that the mom is poisoning the daughter. And there's so many things in that are really well done. And I think that as Shyamalan's career goes along, he really loses sight of the bigger picture a lot of the time, because he's so obsessed with having a twist. And I'm a defender of The Village. I know there's a lot of arguments against it, and I totally get it, but I love how that movie looks, and I love the vibe of that movie. It just has such a, just such a weird feel to it, and everything takes so long, and it's almost like ASMR before ASMR, with it has just long, and I think it's because she's blind. So then they really rely on the sound design. I feel like I'm talking too much. Go talk more about Shyamalan. You could go on an entire diatribe about one film, and I'm a Village apologist too, for the record. I think it's almost the closest that we got to like a movie version of a Twilight Zone episode. Yes.
I'd say. Yes,
that's why I like it.
And no, I dig it. And those first four movies, and like I said, Signs was still good, but it was hokey and almost to the, like, I think what you were talking about is what I would add is he almost tries to add like a message or a theme that isn't needed, or he hits you over the head with it. He did it in this one too, which is one of my problems with today's movie. But stuff like the swing away Meryl just doesn't hit like it did when I first saw the movie theater. And even the alien reveal wasn't nearly as frightening as it was when he's in the closet and watching it.
Yeah.
However, I think the humor in Signs is better than most of his movies, and I think that's due to Mel Gibson's comic timing and baby Joaquin Phoenix being able to do that as well. So his first four, those are all rewatchable, and then you get the middle period.
The middle period is, and we're just gonna skip right over the middle period. No one needs to even. We'll ignore that time.
Talking to a plastic plant. Still doing it.
But I also am curious because his later period is all over the place, and I think that Old was his last movie before this, and I'm really, really curious your opinion of that movie.
I wanted to like it more than I did. I preferred The Visit, the one before. I think that was the one before that, when the kids go to stay with their grandparents and it's not their grandparents. That was like his return. I saw that in theaters.
Yeah, I think Glass came after.
Oh yeah, see, and I even forget about, like, I think I trained my brain to forget about Glass, and Split's pretty cool too.
I like Split. Yeah,
I think that was the first time I remember seeing Anya Taylor-Joy in her giant eyes and her acting style. But I like that one, but also to your point, it can never undo now that it's a sequel to Unbreakable.
If we had done Old on this show, I would have had a very similar reaction to Terrifier 2 in terms of this movie fucking sucks. What in the world? But obviously that Old doesn't have the praise. I was shocked at how bad Old was. Absolutely blown away at how much it just completely blows that concept. And we're not getting into Old, but I think it is important to get a gauge, especially because Old is, I think, the biggest. It's his last movie, so I feel like, and it is divisive. And guess what? Today's movie is very, very divisive. But I will say, for any viewer, if you have not seen the movie, if you didn't like the movie, anything like that, I still highly encourage you to stick around, because I think we're going to still have some pretty convincing arguments to either solidify your opinion or turn around your opinion. So because I think that I've had enough conversations about this movie that it's such a fun movie to talk about. So I just want to make sure to put that out there, because we're talking about Knock at the Cabin. While vacationing, a girl and her parents are taken hostage by armed strangers who demand that the family make a choice to avert the apocalypse. And we will do a non-spoiler section at the beginning, but it's an M Night Shyamalan movie, so we're not going to be able to talk much about anything. This will be a video that is mostly a spoiler video. But non-spoilers, what'd you think?
Let out a big sigh. Not non-spoilers. I think it's I enjoyed it. I don't think, because of the nature of his movies, sometimes they're very rewatchable, and this one I don't necessarily think is rewatchable. This one got some of the better acting he's had in a long time, minus a couple people that I'll talk about. I think ultimately he fumbled what could have been like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I did enjoy it though. I just have some notes on stuff that I was like, they were frustrating to me.
Yeah, I can see that. And I made sure to write some stuff down that I feel like is non-spoiler that we can talk about. So I love the credit sequence. It's so snappy, and I love the font that's used. It is so quick. You pretty much only have enough time to read the name and then it's gone. And I like that. I hate credit sequences that are they go on and on. It's like, yes, I want to acknowledge the work that these people did, but I also don't need it dragging down the narrative. So I love how quick it was, and I just love how it looked. It was just so cool looking. And then it goes immediately into the opening with the daughter, and the sound design of that scene with Batista being introduced. And I'm going to say right now, I know that his name is Leonard. However, I'm calling him Batista. I will just always call him that in anything that I see him in. He's Batista. So when Batista comes like walking up, and you can just hear his footsteps, and they do such a good job of the disturbance that makes in terms of what it does to nature, because the sound design, watching it in the theater versus watching it at home, it still worked so well. And I watched this through Peacock, so it's not like I even watched this with amazing whatever Blu-ray sound or anything. So that aspect just really, really, really spoke to me. And I also really liked that Batista calls the two dads Daddy Andrew and Daddy Eric.
Hello, Leonard.
Is that Daddy Andrew or Daddy Eric?
And he says it's so sweet too.
Yeah, it's so gentle, and like, that's amazing. But that's my non-spoiler. Where anything else you have for non-spoilers? Because again, there's so much spoiler related with this.
Yeah. Because once it starts. There's not much you can do to avoid it. Other than a couple what I thought were dumb camera angles that were artsy just to be artsy in that scene specifically. And he did it a couple more times throughout the movie. I thought it did a great job building tension when he keeps looking over his shoulder when he's talking to her and he gets distracted. But he's very calm and nice. And It was good. And yeah, I kept calling him, my wife and I were calling him Drax during the whole time. Oh yeah, that did. And then where'd Drax go? Or what is he, stuff like that. So it's the same way. He has a name, but he's been too many other things for depending on if you're a wrestling person or what you identify him with the most. But from a non-spoilery, I liked how it began. I forgot about the credits. I didn't even have that in the notes, but it was really snappy.
Yeah, it's like a very interesting, and I mean, I'm an editor and I really struggle with doing font. It's a pain in the ass getting it to look good. And so once you find something, like, you just stick with it. Just appreciated how good the different fonts looked. And I don't know, it's such a dumb thing, but I just enjoyed that because it's not something that comes easily. Yeah, when it's done well, it just like kind of goes seamlessly in with it goes seamlessly in. If it had been bad, then you would have noticed. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and that's one of those things that, not to get off on too much of a tangent, but that's one of those things that credits are either just credits or they're incredibly memorable. I know we talked off camera, unrelated, about The Watchmen. It's my favorite opening credits sequence of all time, with Bob Dylan's song and that. I know you're holding in with your tequila, your vitriol for that film, but I love that movie. I love the graphic novel. I love the director's cut of the movie.
Hey, I made a whole video about that, and I don't think anyone knows I hate it. So you be quiet there. But no, Watchmen is a whole nother story. But I think that a good opening can really set your film up. And I think one negative about it is that it is just like, it's whatever. It doesn't really connect. It doesn't connect as much with the story as I would like. It's mostly just it's almost like telling an editor, like, hey, we shot a bunch of B-roll, some cool plate shots, add some text and like come up with stuff, because I think they're over shots, and that spoke to me, and I liked that. I also liked, we'll get more into him once go into spoilers, but I also liked Ronald Weasley. What's his name? Rupert Grint. I like any time he pops up. He's an actor that I did not like him in the Harry Potter movies, in terms of, I always thought that he was the weak link. And so then to see him in Servant, and anytime I see him pop up in anything, he's just so good. If Batista wasn't in this movie, I would say Rupert Grint was my favorite part. But Batista is in this movie, so he's fucking incredible in this. Absolutely incredible. But closing, I don't know, remarks, non-spoiler, because we have so much spoiler stuff to talk about.
No, I enjoyed it. I'm excited to discuss it. And it is overall something I would recommend to both fans of the director, but just people that want to see a movie.
Okay, so I will say right now, I think that it, like you said, it doesn't, about how rewatchability, you think that would be an issue, and I agree. I think that on a second viewing that I didn't enjoy this as much, and that there's some stuff that just the M Night comes out. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It's just, he has a certain style and a certain flair, and it's nothing wrong, but it's like when he shows up in that little cameo in the Home Shopping Network thing, and it goes on and goes on, and he has so many lines in it where I'm like, why is this not just like an immediate cutaway? Why, like, which I understand too, they're trying to make it where it's like, well, if you turned on the TV and it cut away immediately, then like you would be suspicious, and there needs to be like, if you're gonna then do that, you then shouldn't make that your one role. No,
that could have been stock footage. It could have been literally anything on the TV, and you could have had the same device. It wasn't as egregious as, and I had forgot, he's the guy in Signs that kills Mel Gibson's wife. I forgot about that until he showed up, and I was like, he's not. I know he started as an actor, I think, like, or that was his aspiring dream, but he's not good.
He's one of the main people in Lady in the Water. Yeah.
I thought we weren't discussing that middle section.
Sorry.
We can go into Happening if you want to. I'm here for it.
God, no. Oh, fuck. That is, no. Move, Knock at the Cabin. There's something with Knock at the Cabin, too, that I didn't notice on first viewing. So it might be something where in theaters it looked fine, and then seeing streaming, because sometimes effects, when once it goes to streaming, it just doesn't look as good. And there's a really funny shot of the planes falling out of the sky. And the funny thing about it is, like, I mean, they're poorly composited, but it's the reactions of all the people. It's so exaggerated and so ridiculous. I'm showing a clip right now. All I can think of is the like.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Because everyone is they're all acting with their hands, and like there's not anyone that's just, stunned, just shocked. I don't know. It's hilarious.
No, I felt that way with the tidal wave. I'm sitting there and I'm like, my first reaction was, wait, is he live streaming this? Because how are they getting that phone for that footage? And like, how is it happening? Like, I don't know. And their reaction wasn't to immediately run away from the cataclysmic wave. They watched it for a minute.
I had less issues with that just because of the era that we're in terms of live streaming. I had issues with them not running, but in terms of them having a feed, I was like, I can believe that. I've watched like weather things where they're taking it from someone's Facebook Live before. So that aspect where I'm like, well, then it probably should be lower quality. But then if I'm watching a movie, I don't want to see like 480p, and there's those kinds of things that you then think of where that's when I'm like, I'm okay with it being a movie. But then there's just silly stuff, because I know we shouldn't hold the marketing against the film, but I really have an issue with the fact that the marketing spoiled a lot of this movie, because the marketing at first was absolutely incredible, where it was essentially just showing like people showing up at a cabin and knocking. That teaser was phenomenal. It looked like, holy shit, M. Night is back. They then show the tsunami was like, and the planes falling, all of that was in it was in TV spots. I don't watch trailers after the first thing usually, and it's just showing up in TV spots. I think it was on the Super Bowl. Quit spoiling this shit. What is wrong with people?
Yeah, I have avoided, because they keep releasing like new Evil Dead Rise previews, and I'm avoiding those at this point, because now they have more footage to show, and because people have been screened for it. So I avoid that. And I agree. Like, they showed 2 of the, I'd say 3 like biggest shock value scenes in this movie in the preview. And I don't know, the rest of it is good. And there's a couple of shocking moments. We're in full spoiler territory. Your boy Rupert Grint he's an Rupert Grint in this movie.
So good. Such a scumbag too.
Oh, he's so greasy. He's so greasy in this.
Okay. So you've only seen it the one time. So I have to mention, a friend actually mentioned this to me. Did you notice how Rupert Grint's character is so fucking antsy? Because he wants everything to get started, because he knows he's the first to die. There's so many, which again, I'm sure that characterization is probably not from M. Night. It's probably from the writer Paul Tremblay, because I should say this is based on a book.
Yeah, very popular one.
Very popular one that I know. It's a cabin at the end of the world. I know that the ending is changed. I think
I actually looked up all the differences because I was curious.
Take it away.
So it is ambiguous whether or not there is something happening. They never explain it. And what's really messed up is there's a battle for the gun that they recover from the car, and it goes off and it kills their daughter. Like, she dies like 2/3 into the book.
Glad they got rid of that.
Yeah,
but it just wouldn't have worked.
Other than that, it's very similar. Although there's more guilt from the four guys. There's more guilt in the book, much more around the Rupert Grint's character being the guy who assaulted him in the bar. Much more guilt, and then they question their whole mission about that. Those are the main differences.
I wish that that's something that had been played with a little bit more in terms of are they just fucking with them? Because maybe it's just because seeing the previews, but I didn't for a second think that this was anything but like, this is bad news. You need to kill, one of you needs to kill another one of you. And maybe it's just because they sold the movie so well. And I don't know. I don't know. It didn't make a lot of sense to me in how they present things so quickly in terms of how everyone dies. And all I can think is like, why are these people not questioning like, hey, maybe we can draw this out maybe we can make it so they can understand a little quicker. It's like, why does it have to happen so quickly? Why do they have to do it now? And maybe I missed that. Maybe you caught something like the timeliness I didn't get.
Well, it was inconsistent because they're like, yeah, we're going to take 12 hours to sleep. So you're fine. And then between the one girl dying, the third one to die, and then Batista asking the question again was incredibly short as well. So, and I don't remember there being necessarily an explanation for that. No, I will say so. The design of everything was really good. The masks they had were just unsettling. And I know those are very generic ones, and the design of the weapons was very unsettling as well.
Yes.
That stuff was pretty well done.
Unsettling, and they also like are looking because it's essentially they know that those are their own murder weapons. Those are the things that's going to kill them. So then they're like side eyeing and like looking at them, and they're like, oh
yeah, because they had to build them themselves too, right? Is what they were saying. Yeah, I will say one of the other things that I had a problem with. I said most of the acting I thought was really good. I did not care for not Jonathan Groff, the guy from Frozen and Mindhunter, but the other daddy. I didn't care for him, the human rights lawyer, and also his character. He's like, no, the world can end. I'm not sacrificing anyone, but he doesn't immediately shoot them on sight.
I hated him so much in this.
Oh, he was the worst.
Yeah, it's the thing too where there's part of you where like, oh, I'm glad it's a gay couple because then I'm not gonna then be accused of disliking the guy because he's gay. It's like, no, I think Groff is great. His character's good. I think that he's a phenomenal actor anytime he's in anything. And this other guy, I had such a problem with his character that then I don't know how much that then leached over into how much I disliked his performance. But the character itself was just insufferable in so much of his line of thinking because he was so just like he's seen so much evidence of this being real. And then he's still just, nope, I don't believe it. Nope. Yeah. Like, what?
No, at some point, it's like, no, you're just like, you're being stubborn for, your character's sake at that point. Like he was my least favorite. And I really didn't like, what was the brunette girl who had the son? I didn't like her at first until her speech right before she died. See, at first I thought she was maybe overacting. And then when she was crying about like, I didn't want to tell you this, but I have a son like that. I was like, okay, she won me over at that point.
I think, especially on a second viewing, any of literally the only... So the Razzies got in trouble this year for bashing and nominating a child.
I saw that.
I say this with, I don't mean this for this girl to be nominated for anything. I don't think that girl is the greatest actress. And if I could say that if there's one weak point in the cast, it would be her. Would I draw attention to that in a review? No. But if we're talking about bad actors, just talking about it, then yeah, I don't think she was great. That's me dancing around the subject.
Well, it's also kid acting there's more cases of kid acting being distracting than anything else.
Kid acting is almost always awful. Like that's just something that should be acknowledged, and that way when it is good, we can just acknowledge that. And then if it's not acknowledged, it's like, oh, well, kid acting must be kid acting.
Yeah, no, and it's better when they just let them kind of be kids. Like the kids in Kindergarten Cop never bother me because they're just being little kids and playing with Arnold Schwarzenegger. They're living their best lives out there. But sometimes, like with this one.
Yeah, this girl has too many lines that don't sound natural. Yeah. Even you saying it, it's like, yep, it's because she says weird shit.
If you want to talk, then why do you have the scary weapons with you? They have these weapons.
One thing too that I really, really enjoyed with the whole reveal at the end was the 4 horsemen reveal. I should have seen it coming. I really should have, but I didn't because I just was not focused on that in any way. I'm not a biblical person in any way.
So I'm going to fight you on that. I hated that. I was getting serious. Freddy versus Jason. Freddy died by fire. Jason died by water. How can we use that? That is what I was talking about M Night putting stuff in there to bash you over the head with. Yeah, there's 4 of them. They're trying to avert the apocalypse, like, and the fact that they spoke it out loud too.
Yeah.
Like, I forget if it's Groff or the guy we both dislike. I won't say hate because he's probably a nice guy in real life, but I forget, one of them said it, and I was just like, ugh.
I wish I had them all. I had them listed. That's why I listed Daddy Andrew and Daddy Eric. But apparently, I thought I would remember, but doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I will say I have that in my notes. I was like, that was a bit much, and I just all I could think of was that scene from Freddy vs. Jason with them trying to figure out. And I was just like, okay, yep, thank you for that. And he's done that before too. Like, it goes back to the swing away Meryl. Like, his wife says that to him, and you get the bat, and I had a problem with that, and it didn't ruin the movie, but I was like, you could have deleted that one line and been fine. Like, it would have improved the experience for me.
It's almost, you can have the implication. It's fine. There might even be talk afterwards of like, well, did you notice? Like, there's 4. It's dealing with the apocalypse. Yeah. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Yeah, I get that. It's cooler if it's not. You're not bashed over the head with. Which I think literally the only reason I liked it was that I was not thinking about it. Like, just I wasn't thinking about it. So then when it happened, I was like, oh yeah, I like that. Like, okay, cool.
Again, I like it. I just didn't need it explained necessarily when the character said it. Overall, like, I keep thinking back to it, and Batista, again, we're in full spoilers, but Batista's death scene, his writhing was a little bit weird, but after he cuts his own throat, but his conversation and just his character with being a teacher and showing the picture of the kids, like the basketball teams and stuff, his character was just really good. Yeah,
I loved his character, but the thing that I didn't understand, this movie was rated R, and I had to like look it up because I thought it was PG-13 after getting out of the film originally. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not violent at all. Because they cut away on almost everything. Even the Batista cutting his throat, like, it's done in such a way where it's like, I've seen that on Fox procedurals,
TV shows. Yeah. My theory is that most of it was done in front of a kid, and I'm guessing the MPA maybe had a problem with that.
Yeah, they do. Or maybe it was
just enough. I mean, I was talking to Mike about this, but like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you don't see much of anything. Granted, that's from, the early mid 70s, but you don't see a lot of gore there, and you didn't see a lot here, but the implication of it is enough. And like the sound effects, the squelching, things like that. I think it was probably just enough to warrant R.
I wanted more. I wanted something more. Like, it wasn't enough for me. I don't know. I wanted, especially because of the violence, it needed to hit harder. I feel it makes the threat more impactful because you're able to see like what the consequences are for this, and there wasn't enough for me. And just like the over explanation was, and I like this movie. Like, it makes it seem like I don't enjoy this movie, but I just have to acknowledge it has problems.
Yeah, and I will say, in terms of the violence, I think I was okay with it because it was almost like, you watch something. I know you're done talking about Terrifier 2, but something like Art the Clown loves the violence, so we get to see it in its full glory. These guys didn't want to do anything they were doing. No. So by not showing us the violence, it's not glorifying it because they don't want to do it. That's kind of how I took it anyway.
Yeah, I guess it was more of the one time that we do see it with Batista, it's a bad like CGI enhancement, which I don't, it takes a little away from it. I think that may have been what it was. If all the violence take away any of the stupid CGI, I probably would have liked it more, like those parts more. The CGI I hate CGI violence. It's so stupid.
Yeah, like CGI muzzle flash and CGI like bullet wounds and blood splatter. I can't get behind that stuff. It really takes me out of a movie, especially if other things in the movie are practical.
I don't even mind like muzzle flashes. I can deal with a muzzle flash. It's the blood. It's the blood. That spurt, they never get it right. I always think of Land of the Dead where it just like spurts out. Like it looks awful. I will take a bad squib over that any day of the week. Any day of the week. It just doesn't work.
I had another note for dumb character decisions. Kudos to Batista for thinking that they could believe that his giant frame could fit through that small circular window in the bathroom when he breaks the window. That
was all I could think was like, what? He's not. What? No. What do you? What? No. You dummies. You dummies.
Like they figured it out because they're like, wait a minute. And I was like, come on. But how? You've seen him the entire movie. There's no way he's fitting through that. So again, just that was something that kind of took me out of that. And again, we're not there. We're not in the moment, but still, like that's just common sense.
I just thought of another thing. They show it's like a flash forward of the Daddy Andrew or Daddy Eric. I don't know which one it is. One of them is with the daughter and they are going somewhere, and the guy just has like a little bit of gray in his hair, in his beard, and the daughter is like 20 years older. It's like, holy shit, that guy aged phenomenally. Absolutely especially phenomenal.
After this hard experience, it didn't age him at all. Like
yeah, and lost his partner and someone that like seemed like it's the love of his life. You would think it's a really big deal, and yet, yeah. Apparently not. Apparently not.
No, he stayed in great shape. He was fine. He wore that suit well.
I would have loved it so much if it's like he's bald, out of shape. The show is like, oh yeah, he's been struggling. The daughter's doing fine, but he's been struggling. But no, it's M. Night. They got to have the triumphant ending. But then again, too, it could have been a case of because it was a vision from the other guy. So then maybe showing like the guy not in great shape. Maybe it would have been like, ooh, I need to be the one that survives. You're not doing so hot in the future. So
no, we need to switch this scenario around.
Maybe that is what happened. Maybe then they switched. It was the other person had the vision they were able to see where it's like, oh, you got really fat and like you're really depressed. I handle your death much better.
You've peaked here. It's not going to get better for you after this. So like, maybe you take it.
But why are you? It's like, why are you able to handle my death so much better? We're not talking about that. Go die.
I haven't thought about this every day for the last 2 years. I don't know what you're talking about.
I want to know just how much M. Night based certain things on just Batista. If it was like, because I don't know how much this book is the movie, like in terms of the characters. Did they just completely draw these people, or is it M. Night doing his thing and molding, like, you know, just writing a script and using this thing as an outline? Do you know?
When I looked it up, I think all the character names are the exact same.
No.
But I don't remember seeing a description. It's not like the book was like, you know, Leonard is a Batista-like man who enters the woods to talk to her. The names were, I believe, the same.
Because I do think that aspect is very interesting, because it's like, well, he's not a stereotypical person for that role. He's very, very against type.
Although I will say, and my wife and I were talking about this, where like he would be the coolest second grade teacher. Just this massive dude who just, you know, wants to coach basketball and stuff. So it kind of fit, but I can't imagine. I don't know. He pulls, I mean, the most random people in his movies, for better and for worse, because you get performances like, you know, the movie that shall not be named, and then you get stuff like Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. Like I liked McAvoy in Split. I thought he was a waste in, I can't even think of what it's called.
Glass.
Yeah. I tell you, my brain just is trying to.
Everyone forgets that movie.
Yes.
It's very forgettable. Very forgettable.
So he pulls these great performances out of people, and people obviously still want to work with him. You know, he still has that kind of sway.
I think we pretty much have talked everything we can about Knock at the Cabin. What would you rate this film?
Even as much of the kind of bashing I did, and it was more minor, nothing that was a horrible like plot hole or anything. So, but it was enough. I'd give it probably a 7.5 out of 10. Still definitely in like it's not as good as Sixth Sense or Unbreakable. I need to rewatch The Village. It's been at least 10 years since I watched that, but I really like that movie. So it's not as good as those first ones, but I think it's his best since, the early 2000s.
Nice. Well, and I will say that I rewatched The Village like 4 years ago, and ooh, so good. I was shocked at how well it holds up. Like, it's one of those movies where I'm like, ooh, is there a cult following for this finally? And there is. It's quite happy to see.
That's good to hear. I think I'll have to go through and show it to my son, especially with how much he enjoyed Signs.
Yeah,
so that's
definitely
good to know. What about you? What's your rating?
I think when I saw this in theaters, I had given it an 8. However, on rewatch, it would drop down. Some of the sillier M Night stuff definitely just, I don't know. It's not a great film, but it is. I had so much fun with it, and I think that eventually it could potentially drop. But right now, I really, really enjoyed it. I don't know how it holds up on repeated rewatches. That's pretty much the main thing that I don't know at this point, because it could absolutely hold up. It could not in any way whatsoever, because that's an M Night movie. M Night movies are, I feel like every single time I watch them, I'm always all over the place with them because that's his style.
Well, yeah, and who knows? His next one will dictate probably how I feel about this one. If his next one is, markedly worse, then this is going to look a lot better in my eyes. Whereas if the next one is one of those like, okay, he put everything together for this decade, so then
fingers crossed for the last Airbender too. But also, let me know what you thought of Knock at the Cabin, because this has been the ratings are all over the place. Either you love it or you hate it. So
yeah, where do you guys put it in your stack ranker? If you don't absolutely hate everything he does, but if you like M Night, where do you put it in your lineup for his movies? I'm curious to see that reaction too.
Yeah, because it's polarizing. But it's a very fun movie. That's really all for this week. I am so pumped for next week, because this is one of my most anticipated films of the year, and one that I've been looking forward to ever since they announced, was it last year, maybe even the year before, that Nick Cage was going to be playing Dracula. Like, holy shit. Renfield. Oh, so pumped. And we will have special guests. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to say it wrong, because I've only ever read his name. So someone new hasn't been on the show. You'll see it next week, and I'll have him announce himself so that then I know how to say his name.
That's a power move. That's a good idea.
Exactly. Big brain. But thank you so much for joining me, Andrew. This has been an awesome conversation. And that's really all. You guys click like, all that, subscribe, tell your friends about this. And yeah, bye.
Bye, guys.